Okay, I'll go ahead and start the recording. So thank you, Henry. I will let the folks from the LFX team go ahead and introduce yourselves. And then we'll start off talking a little bit about LFX meetings and then go into the AMA.
Yes. Okay, perfect. And so hey everyone, this is Henry. I'm the LFX community manager. I will be a point of contact and a resource for you regarding all things LFX to help everyone understand, get onboarded, ramped up, and be a bridge of connection for the community and the tool set. I also want to give a big thanks to Asitha and Andres for also joining as well. And if they want to introduce themselves as well.
Hey everyone. Yeah, my name is Asitha. I'm a software engineer here at in the LFX team, primarily working on the PCC side of things. Yeah, Andreas.
Yes, hello, my name is Andres. I am also a software engineer working on the LFX team, mostly doing backend software engineering, partly working on LFX meetings. So if you have any questions, Asita and I will be here to answer questions.
Definitely. Well, thank you very much. Thank you both very much for joining this call and helping us answer questions. Today, I wanted to go over the main benefits of LFX meetings, what LFX meetings may mean for everyone on this call. It looks like most people on this call are project leaders. Is anyone in OSPOs in this call? Is anyone in this call involved in OSPOs as well? Kenny, would you know?
I think we can ask, but in general, I think most of our community tends to live in either a CTO group or product development for their member companies.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe Timo might be with an OSPO, but don't know.
Yeah,
not 100%.
Yeah, you can. I guess I identify more with OSPO than a project team lead.
Definitely. Okay, well, thank you all for joining. I want to show you guys some benefits of LFX and how we use LFX meetings and how it can also help you. So one of the main things that we want to do when we get to LFX, if we start even just in the LFX homepage right here, is to reap the full benefits of all LFX offers, we would want to access our LF profile. I say we want to access our LF profile. If we have an LF ID, if we've registered for events, we should have an LF ID. If we've participated in any training or certification courses, we should already have an LF ID. And then where we can go to our LF profile here and configure it. And this is essentially a place where you can keep track of all of your open source engagements. And for meetings, this is where you'll be able to keep track of all of your committee meeting participation, open source meeting participation. And I wanted to show this aspect of it for the participants, because this is where you will be able to see your recordings and your transcripts if it's there. And also for you to understand how have you been contributing to open source through the year or the quarter. And in any moment, if anyone has any questions over anything LFX meetings wise, how it works, or what's coming up, feel free to stop me at any point in time. Quick question, has anyone here used LFX meetings before?
It's in use, Henry, within LFN for a few of our committees. It hasn't been rolled out extensively yet. We were waiting for the release that happened recently. And part of this is need to make sure that folks know what's coming so that when we start converting our meetings, we've got something to fall back on.
Got it. Okay. So yeah, definitely. So this is more so after our meeting. So after we get the meeting invites, where can we see everything? I do want to state that in our individual dashboard here, under events, we can go to meetings and you can see where all of your meetings are. You can see a list of your recurring meetings, your non-recurring meetings, and your past meetings. So one thing that is coming is if you were already in use of LFX meetings, maybe for governing board meetings or technical steering committee meetings, and you already have them on your calendar, you should have received an email with a new link. And this link is a standard link where if you share this link, if I clicked resend invite and I looked at this link in my email, I'm going to pull up my email on another screen. It should have the meeting passcode and it should have the meeting ID link here. So now it'll be easier to share the links. So the links should have changed already and it should be automatic, but everything should be in your individual dashboard screen right here. So you should be able to see all of your meetings here. And you should be able to see your past meetings and have access to your recordings and transcripts if that's allowed, if that's been made available in some of the meetings. Another thing that I know is coming up that maybe Sita or Andres may be able to expound on a little bit more is another benefit of using LF meetings would be for understanding how else we're contributing to projects and being able to report to higher ups from our organizations on maybe, hey, I'm a part of this committee and this is how many meetings we're having. This is when I'm joining these meetings. These are how long they typically are, just so that we have like more data to support our claims on the impacts that we're driving towards these projects. Are there any questions regarding that? Okay, great.
And by the way, everyone who's on this call, it's because you probably do have questions you want answered. This is your time to chime in and ask. And so maybe you didn't there, but this is my personal Heather type encouragement. Don't say after the fact that your questions weren't answered if you didn't chime in, and this is a safe space. I can ask stupid questions to make you feel more comfortable. Just seriously chime in and ask, or ask hard questions, strategic questions. There's a reason we created this session and that Henry came to it. Make use of this experience.
Right.
Okay, we do have a question from Sridhar in the chat. For me, based in India, I'm unable to change the time zone to schedule a meeting.
Yeah, that is currently in the works right now for us to be able to set time zones. And we're hoping to get that out fairly soon, but yeah, right now it's in the works. Obviously, as you guys can appreciate, time and time zones are a bit more complex when it comes to setting things. So yeah, definitely in the works right now. And we'll give you an update as soon as we have one or when it will be released.
And just to add on to that, to be clear, is like meetings are currently scheduled in UTC time. So kind of just to have a universal time zone that since people are oftentimes working from various parts of the world, that we use right now UTC. We want to be able to, or we're working on implementing if you want to schedule a meeting for a specific time zone, because everyone's joined the meeting is in this certain time zone, and with daylight savings, it makes it easier when you have a certain time zone set. But right now, meetings are scheduled in UTC. So even if you are in a certain time zone, let's say in India, the meeting itself will get scheduled within UTC time, relative to your time zone.
Yeah, and Andres, I'm sorry, I'm going to be a little harsh right now. That is a very good basis for code building. However, not a single person on this phone call is able necessarily to intuitively do that offset in their head, and we are all humans. Yeah, there's a usability aspect that I think should
It's actually
prioritize quite highly. This is a feature. Yeah, just because there's a usability for humans, that is the exact right code base. So what I'm saying is you've done exactly the right thing. But if you think about your users, there's not a single person who exists in UTC. I mean, maybe people who live in Greenwich, England, but even then, Greenwich Mean Time is no longer UTC. But that's one of the most fundamental usability things. And I'm sorry, I'm going to say this on behalf of the community because maybe they don't want to say it. This is the important way that people are able to live their daily lives using this tool. And just and not to put anything wrong on you, just to maybe push the priority up of that feature.
Well, the other
Yes.
issue related to time zones has to do with when daylight savings time changes. And so in the FIDO community, we have most of our meetings are anchored in the Pacific Daylight Time, but we have at least one that's anchored in the Central European time zone, and that's because that's where the majority of the people are, and there's an offset for 2 weeks for
Yep.
daylight savings times. And that always ruins 2 weeks of meetings if we
Yep.
don't have the ability to anchor a meeting and say which one it's anchored in.
Yeah. And by the way, in FIDO, you're not alone, Dave.
Yep.
Doing standards work for all the time
Oh,
before
yeah.
I came,
Yeah,
before I came here.
Yeah.
And in every single project, it's you have to sort of make a decision of, do we sort of honor the offset during that time? No, partially because people have pre-booked meetings because they assume that it's going to be at this time. Yeah, that gets into a little bit of the human aspect, which is what, yeah, part of that is above what a meeting tool can do, which is choices around what do you do when, unfortunately, the US has decided to be different than the rest of the world in the way it is about a lot of things. But yeah, what do we do about those? I mean, it's 2 weeks, but it's 2 weeks both times a year. It's a month of ruined interactions. That is a question I think each project in each community has to take on board.
Which is beyond the scope of today's call.
Yeah, but
Yes.
it's beyond the scope of today's call, which is what I was getting to, and Kenny reminded me to stop talking. But yeah, but that's outside of what a tool can solve. What a tool can solve is we need to be able to see what that time means to us when scheduling a meeting. Please push forward and elevate the priority of that specific feature, please, Andres and Henry, because you've already
Yes.
heard that that's a big issue.
Yeah, thank you very much for bringing that to our attention. Yeah, we have heard it before, and that's something that we want to hopefully finish implementing in the near future. I can't give an exact time on it. I'm not too sure that we have one right now, but I would expect it to be finished in the near future, given that it's already been worked on quite heavily. But yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
Henry, if I could kind of guide the conversation here a bit. I know it's not functionality that's available yet, but in the near future, which I understand is also work in progress, will be the ability for us to delegate using Project Control Center for setting up meetings by community members. I don't know. I know it's work in progress, but I don't know what the timeline on that is, because that's one thing that I think is going to provide a lot of power and a lot of benefits to get away from some of the things that we've been wrapped around for years, which is how do we distribute the load amongst the community members for managing their own meetings, without having to do unnatural acts with Zoom accounts.
Sorry,
Maybe,
could you kind of,
oh, sorry.
sorry,
Yeah,
yeah,
I was
I
gonna
was
say
just
maybe
gonna ask,
Asita.
yeah. I was just gonna ask, could you elaborate a little on that, as in like you're wanting to allow the community members to have access to schedule meetings?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely something that we'll need to kind of like, I know that there's been a lot of like planning around like GA and like allowing others to use PCC and be able to use some of the tools. We'll just have to kind of get back to you as to when that can be available. It's on the roadmap. I'm just not sure when it's scheduled for us to like put prioritization on it essentially.
Okay.
So Timo here, just sorry, I think I missed it, but maybe you can remind me who then are able to schedule those meetings today.
Currently, it would be staff.
Oh, well, that's great.
But yeah, and it's great, but not very scalable, as you already know.
I mean, it's well, you have
Well,
busy
the
days,
thing
I'm
is, a
sure.
lot of staff right now are doing, basically secretarial work, which is not a good use of staff capabilities and should not, and should be easy enough that it does not require us, right? Like,
Yeah.
we're here for the hard things.
Heather, I was using, you couldn't see it, but it was /S.
Yeah.
Oh God, I
So-
love you, Timo.
I wanted to just dive deeper into that a little bit. So you're wanting the ability for others to have access, community members. Are you still seeing this as something that's granted to specific community members, or is it just a free-for-all type situation?
It would be delegated to specific people that would have responsibility for a set of meetings. For example, a project technical lead for a particular sub-project would be given the ability to schedule meetings for their sub-project. Things like that. It would not be open to all. That's also not manageable. And we have a
Exactly.
long history of that failing. So it would be delegated to people that actually are empowered with that responsibility.
Okay. So essentially, we're just trying to look for somebody that gets kind of like limited access onto PCC for specific services, such as meeting management, that they can go on
Correct.
to and schedule meetings instead of having staff members go through that as well.
Correct.
Or only being able to have that. Okay. Yeah. Let me take that back to the team to kind of see how we can figure that out. And then we'll get back to you on what the findings are.
Okay.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, Asita. I know that we are working on some roles in PCC, correct?
Correct. Yes. We are working on role management in PCC and being able to give project managers and things like that the ability to essentially add people on your own. It's just there's a lot of complexity behind it because it's not only going to affect PCC, it's going to affect all of LFX services. So we're trying to make sure that when we do roll this out, it is as tight as possible so that we don't have any problems. So yeah, I hope you can appreciate that. We're trying to take this as, not to say as slow as possible, but we're trying to like make sure that we're getting all the bells and whistles in before releasing it to the public.
Right. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Great questions.
In the interest of time, gonna hop ahead here. We did have a couple of questions that were written down in advance. One of them was, how can I see the 11th organization contributing to a project in LFX Insights? LFX Insights, technical contributions organizations. It only shows the top 10.
Got it, got it. And this is for an overview of the whole project, correct?
I assume so. Is Randy on? This
Yeah.
was his question.
Yeah. Let's start with that.
Okay.
I mean, but first of all, I wanted to understand if it's there and I'm just not seeing that, or is it currently missing from Insights? I remember it was possible in V1, I think.
Correct. And I was going to ask, so I'll say this, I know that we are working on Insights and we're going to be going to be revamping Insights. Timeline on this is still ETA, but I know it's something that our developers are currently focused on as well, revamping Insights. So I know in V1 this is available. In V2, I don't think this is, I think maybe in organizations. Let me check right now. One second.
Yeah, no, I was looking at Insights as well. It doesn't look like they provide the ability to showcase the next set after the
Yeah.
top 10.
Yeah,
I have
and once again, if there's a way to elevate priority of feature development, we have a 26-person board.
Right.
If we
And
can
so-
only show the top 10 performers, I mean, maybe we could use that as a sort of a, Mad Max to enter one man leaves sort of situation. But our board finds this offensive.
Yeah. No, that
Deeply offensive, such that Kenny goes through a lot of machinations to use this tool to show what this tool is designed to do with our board. Because if we can only show the top 10, our 26-person board is offended. I mean, and I mean like, oh, we don't show up on here because we're number 11. Why do we pay you money? We might not want to be members anymore. Level of offensive. So, I mean, I know everything that y'all need to hear is meant to be kind, I mean, like properly formulated stuff, but this is having a business impact, and that's why we're not using these tools.
No.
Yeah, we're still relying on V1 for that kind of stuff.
Okay. Perfect.
Just a question for clarification. There was a kind of a comment on, is it okay on a project level? So are we talking about like overall ONAP statistics only, not to the sub-project level?
I didn't
Well-
follow, Timo.
When
Okay.
I asked that question, I was asking about, okay, when we can check at Insights to see per project, but you can always see how your organization is contributing in organization dashboard.
Yeah.
So
Well-
whether you're the
well-
17th contributor or the 8th contributor, you'll be able to see your organization's contributions in org dashboard. In
Yeah.
Insights, and I want to state this, in Insights V2, we are aware of this, and we are aware of the incapacity in some areas here. and we are working. I know we have developers actively working on a different version of Insights. We've been speaking on it through the beginning. I think we're still working on it. The project manager couldn't get on this call, but we definitely will relay this. I'm pretty sure that we know that this is a big priority. I will state this again to emphasize this matter. But we are aware of this and we are working on, okay, you're doing a better job of showing the full picture of all the organizations contributing.
Right. So I mean, yeah, that it was an honest question because I wasn't sure, but kind of from the end user point of view, one thing that probably might help the developer community or the LFX folks is to think that I'm coming from the kind of a Petersia point of view. If I see the statistics through that lens, I would kind of expect that this tool gives the same level of insight, pun not intended.
Right. No. Yeah.
And by the way, Timo is being kind and not flagging vendor needs, but as someone who used to work at his company, it happens in RFP processes. It can mean the difference between a several $100 million contract being granted or not, if you can see more than the top 10 developers from an end user perspective. You know, we've been marketing to end users, see how, you know, your potential vendors are participating. And if they're not able to see the true reality of the data, I'm talking about serious level money impacts. And Timo is being kind and finish. But I used to work at his company. I know what the impacts are. If this isn't fixed and prioritized, it has global financial impacts. I'm sorry, I'm being a little bit dramatic. Also, I'm on my 7th Diet Dr. Pepper of the morning. But this is the reason that in this community, we say these things are important, you know, because people are using this tool as advertised. And if this tool is not giving full insight, then it's causing unintentional harm, right? And that's important. And I'm sorry, I want more of the community to be speaking up, not just me, but I've been in a lot of our community's shoes for basically almost 20 years before I came to the LF, which is why I'm speaking up on behalf of them. Right.
Okay, so thanks, Heather. I want to continue moving forward. I see a note from Ken, and it's about probably 2 a.m. for him, if not later, or earlier, I guess. Within Insights, data set availability seems changing or getting limited oftentimes. Is this due to storage or compute capacity or something else?
Wait,
Yeah.
sorry, could you repeat that again?
Within LFX Insights,
Mhm.
the data sets which are available seems to be changing or often limited. Is it possibly due to storage or compute capacity? Is this true?
So with Insights, I worked on it a little bit a while back. It was about, I think, 2 years ago. And so with Insights, the main problem that they have with showing more data is just performance, right? As you can see, it takes a while to load even just the top 10 for this site. So this page, right? So computing more than that is the problem. So it's like trying to it's a fine line between balancing off like, okay, performance and like trying to show as much data as quickly as possible, versus, all right, we're going to show everything, but you're going to wait a lot longer to get that data. Just because, yeah, it is computing it a lot of this on the fly to try and get the information that you're looking for. If that answers your question there, Kenny.
Um,
What was it, Kenny?
yeah, no, Ken, did that answer your question? I saw that you unmuted, but I didn't hear anything.
Yeah,
And
I think if I can chime in, this is Rani. I think also continuing on what Timo said about in this day and age, people have expectations and they have choice of other tools. And I think Tyler also pointed to some other tool used by CNCF. So there is a certain level of service that people expect these days. And I think what we're trying to say is what we're seeing in Insights is kind of much below par with other things. And I've heard that, I don't remember who right now, but another community member expressed concern or expressed his discontent with LFX and saying, oh, I'm not using that because it's not giving the information I'm used to from other tools. So I think there's a lot of trust building and confidence building that needs to be done here. Hopefully Insights version 3 would go in that direction. But I think what we're hearing from the community is that we kind of dropped to a certain level where people don't find it almost useful anymore and they're looking in other directions.
Yep, that's fair. And yeah, that's the hope that with the V3 version, there's definitely been a huge shift as to how they're implementing it this time. And I think they're using a different tool that I think it might have been CNCF that uses it. I think it was Cloud.dev.
Yeah, that's what Taylor was asking about. And I thought it was the core of our code, but you're saying it's not.
I think
Wait, sorry.
I know now with V3 that they're moving towards, they're doing that to store and compute everything now.
Yep. So we're looking at much more performance gains because we're going to use a tool that's already been heavily vetted by the community already. So yeah, definitely I agree with the whole us needing to build a trust and market this a lot more better. And so yeah, it definitely is being worked on in V3. It's as much as I know when it comes to that product, given my limited insight onto it.
Perfect. I know there's a question by Taylor. Taylor just mentioned what is showcased versus what is available is something that I've seen in the CNCF dev stats and other communities again and again. The data is there and it's showing people how filtering works. For showcasing, it relates to publicly communicated reasons such as graduated projects with CNCF or rotating showcase projects as companies from others. The performance items are also a common topic. What is cached? What is dynamic, etc. Okay, are you that's true. What is showcase versus what is something? And would you say you have an opinion on this, on what's showcase versus what's available, on static versus dynamic information? Is there necessarily a preference here in your comment? Because I mean, this is true. And I think with like the differences between V1 and V2, right? I think with our V1 of Insights, we had a lot of data and a lot of people could filter, and we didn't know if people were using it and how they were using it. With V2, I think we wanted to turn the data into metrics where it was usable and simplify it, but in oversimplifying it, we lost a lot of data. And I think in V3, we definitely want it more open and configurable to where users can find the information that they want to find based on who they are, because I think there are different personas. There's some people that just want to see trends and just understand, hey, what's going up, what's going down. There's people that want to get granular. There's different use cases here. So just
Yeah, I think,
think-
sorry for the interruption, Henry. I think one of the things that we experienced going from version 1 to 2 is that we were extensively tied to version 1. And we had communicated right, left, and sideways what the requirements were with regards to version 1. When we started talking about version 2, there was an assumption on our part that the things being displayed in version 2 and demonstrated to us were going to be additional new features, not a forklift upgrade of existing functionality. And so it came as quite the surprise when version 2 came out, and 3/4 of the version 1 features that we live and breathe on every day were gone. I think that was one of the key disconnects there. Not sure quite how it happened, but nonetheless it happened. So the feedback that I would provide is looking at version 3 is to validate that we aren't introducing regressions in the form of functionality unexpectedly being abandoned.
right.
Make sense?
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And I think that's something that we are aware of and that we are working on. So I'll definitely communicate to the PMs, which I think are definitely aware on the top contributor charts and the ability to see more information and get a whole picture, and the ability to filter and kind of re-emphasize the ability of adding on instead of like stripping away.
From
And
release to release, it is a standard product decision to enhance and improve existing features and add on, not roll back features. I don't know a single vendor in the world who rolls back features unless they've heard from their customers that they are no longer needed and therefore pay attention to new features.
I
Sorry,
want this
I'm being a
commercial.
little harsh here.
No,
Yeah.
no
I-
problem. Asifa, you might be able to chime in here, but I believe the update, it wasn't necessarily on a feature. It wasn't based on the features. It was based on our data capacity and how we were handling the data, and we moved to a different level to handle
Okay.
our data, a method of handling our data. So we wanted to create a new baseline and build on top
Okay.
of that. And I think that's what Asita was mentioning. Now we're going to be using.
Okay, so you had to roll back the feature code because the data integrity and data handling code was the focus, and you couldn't validate previous code against the long-term importance of data handling. That's fine. Honestly, to give y'all a little bit of feedback, that's what you should always perhaps start with. Not pretend that the features aren't important, but we did this for the long term, right? And you know what? Anything related to data integrity and data handling, I think, is very deeply important. right? Like you don't keep building pretty things on top of, you know, a wise man builds his foundation upon the rock, a foolish man builds his, you know, foundation upon the sand. And that's fine. Maybe you should have led with that from a marketing perspective or a communication perspective. I don't know. But
Right.
once again, I will be quiet. I will be quiet.
No, but this is true.
And you did know that showing up for an AMA was going to be a little bit of a challenging situation.
No, you know,
By the way, I do want to say, all of you who are here, I know that you do good work. And everyone in the community who is here second guessing, these people, you know, you get second guessed by your managers and by your organizations and by your end customers. And people here are doing good work, trying to do the best and doing extremely good work, extremely good coding, extremely good architectural decisions. You know, I was harsh earlier in the conversation. Part of the harshness was to elevate certain feature priorities. But honestly, I know certainly Henry, and I know and respect the entirety of the LFX team. And I have very good things to say about how good they are at engineering. Yeah, this was never going to be an especially comfortable situation. But I think hearing the intensity of what we need and the features, you know, I think was an important conversational situation.
definitely.
No, and we appreciate that, Heather. Again, any feedback is always good feedback in my opinion, just because it shows us where we're lacking and where we need to put our focus on. So definitely, like you said, it's an AMA. We came here expecting the tough questions, so definitely it's completely fine. And we actually appreciate the feedback, because at the end of the day, if we don't get feedback, we don't know where we're supposed to go. So yeah, definitely appreciate it, and we hear you.
Yeah, speaking about feedback, what is the best way to submit feedback in between such meeting as today's meeting? Is it still the LFX community, or do you prefer some other way? I mean, if our community members run into issues that interfere with the day-to-day lives, or missing features, or suggested features, what is the recommended course of action for them?
I would say the best recommended course of action for if it's feature requests or pleading for things to be changed, it's still the community, because that's public. And then if you can get multiple people, it shows that, boom, this is a issue in the community. I would say it's the community forum, which I will link in this chat, or I could even go to.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and go there? And drop it into the chat.
Yeah, I think the community forum, community.lfx.dev, is a great place to go for feature requests. I know, and I always bring this up, but I know we had a thread here a while back on feedback for next iteration of committees. And most of these things, when they were explained and expounded upon other users, because there's a conversation, a lot of these things got added and got changed to our tool sets. So if you have an issue with the tool, like something that should be working isn't working, a support ticket is probably your best bet, where you can, and everywhere in our tool, there's this question mark here, and you can click support. And it'll lead you to our support queue. If it's a feature request, something you would like to get added, I think because we want this to be public, the community forum is the best place to go for this.
Also, I think for us, there's a little bit of, these are the forums to place our desires and our needs. Is there a place where we can understand how they're being triaged with respect to priority, with other needs, without reaching out directly to one of you? Because I think that that's a thing, and especially as open source developers, we always see that in our work. So, and
how would a member of the
and we
community see
get to
that?
have an input into that and say, oh, yep, no, you're right. Like, for example, fixing the data path. Okay, yep. Don't like it, but yes, okay, right. But sort of that sort of information, where do we find that, and where's the transparency around that?
And Asita, again, you might be able to chime in if I'm wrong. I know we were using product board for our roadmap to kind of show, hey, what's being prioritized, what's not being like what's on our roadmap, and we can kind of see what's where. I also know that, like, so we can see what's under consideration, what's planned, what's in progress right now. I would say it's still product board. And that's the best way right now. So we do have something that shows, okay, what has been worked on, what's been launched. Asita, do you know of any other?
Yeah, for the PCC site, at least for the PCC side of things, we do have a monthly office hours that's available to anybody that would like to join. I just shared the link into the Zoom chat. You're more than welcome to join that to ask any questions with relation to PCC, feature requests, priorities, updates, and things like that. That's where myself, Jordan, Stefan, who's the PM of the PCC, and a number of our developers as well join that call to basically answer any questions that you guys have. And so that meeting is open to the public. So anybody with that link can register to join it and get an invite. So yeah, that's one of the ways for the PCC side.
Asita, that link should be available to people that are not staff members, right?
Yes.
Yes. And this project roadmap is also available to people that are not staff members as well. So this link should also be available to people that are not staff. Well, thank you everyone for joining.
Yeah, we're 22 minutes over. Thank you so much for indulging us.
Yes, well, it was great hearing all the feedback and engagement. Really, like Asita said, it's good hearing your feedback and how you would desire tools to be, because it helps us relay the message to deliver a better product for you. So we really appreciate all the feedback and communication here.
And hopefully we'll see you in Budapest.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, no, Henry, you specifically are required to come to Budapest.
That's great. That's
But
great.
honestly, we do want LFX members to engage. And some of the best conversations happen in the hallways, happen over tea breaks, happen over drinks, happen over dinner. And I would invite more than Henry to come, because we are one of the largest, we're second largest compared to CNCF, interactions with your end users. I think it's important. And also you'll hear what we're doing, which, understanding what talk on this is not always extremely sexy, but is extremely interesting because we deliver the internet into your pockets. And our community is built on extremely interesting people from a myriad of cultures and pointing to the same North Star. So I think more than Henry, some of you from LFX should show up because you will learn some of what I was, being a little too assertive with a little bit too assertive a tone, which I recognize. But you'll be with one of the largest umbrellas that is adopting LFX, and you'll get to meet people. And also, we do have fun. We have fun dinners. We have fun. It's amazing. Also, I'm reminding everyone on the call that's not from the LFX team why you want to come to Budapest.
I just
that-
like eating food off of Henry's plate.
yeah. Well,
Well,
I
maybe
like
I'll
watching
take,
Henry eating a barnacle for the first time.
Yeah, that was interesting.
And it turns
Okay,
out
everybody.
it's just a clam. But no, I mean, this is what our community is. And sometimes we're harsh, most of the time we're very diplomatic and kind. But what we build is the global communications network. And yeah. I think that some LFX people in particular should come. I'm not sure who's fully in charge of you at this moment, but Kenny and I can write the correct emails if you want to, given that you've seen that we're a little sometimes pointed and harsh, but you're hearing from the end users, and Kenny and I can talk to your managerial staff because I think it's important.
No, that's fair, Heather. And yeah, definitely would love to meet up with the team at some point. I think we've met Kenny and Casey, the last LF All Hands.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely. We're going to be passing all of this feedback on to Nirav and the different product owners. So we've heard, we're hearing everything that you're saying. And I'm hoping that, based on this call, we're able to like push a lot more features out based on the feedback that we received today.
Definitely.
Also, you'll hear directly from end users who won't necessarily talk about it on Zoom, but we'll talk about it over a coffee. Also, don't you want to go to Budapest? Sorry.
I'll be in Europe soon enough, so looking forward.
Yeah, no, but it's important. Sorry, I was being a little silly about how you want to be there. I really do think it's important. And that's the one thing that I want. Henry has come to our in-person meetings, and I want to honestly make that a larger thing, that some of the deep coders of some of our LFX products show up and interact with our community. Because you'll hear it in a way that's not over a Zoom call and not in writing, in a feature request or a feature demand. You'll see what we're doing and why it's important. And it might not be you, especially if you're already going to Europe and you don't want to go back, because I understand travel. I think it's important for people in Nirav's team to sometimes show up to where a large concentration of developers are.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. I'll pass it on to Nirav, see what he says. And yeah, he'll probably reach out to you and see what can be worked out there then.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, everybody, thank you so much. Greatly appreciate it. Asifa, Andreas, and Henry, thank you so much for being subjected to the slings and arrows here. And for everybody else, we will see you at 5 a.m. Pacific tomorrow for day 3, the
And
final day.
also register if you haven't registered. Fill
And
out the event
register.
survey and show up at the town hall.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thanks all.
That's it. Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much,
everyone.
everyone.
Take care.
See you.